Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and this is another episode of Ask the Lawyer. If you or someone you know has suffered complications related to hernia mesh, you probably have lots of questions. Well, luckily today we have someone who's going to answer a lot of those questions for us. He's attorney Wayne Parsons of the Wayne Parsons Law Offices based in Honolulu. Wayne, thank you for making some time for us today. I appreciate it.
Good to be here.
Let's start at the beginning, maybe a little definition. What is hernia mesh? What is this device? What's it used for?
Well, hernia mesh is a mesh, and it's used to surgically repair parts of your body, weak areas. It can bolster, strengthen an incision. It can repair a hole in something that is leaking into some other area in your body. And it's been around for a long, long time.
And what is the complication? What's the problem with it?
Well, recently they came up with additional designs for the actual mesh. It's made out of a polypropylene material, and many manufacturers manufacture this product, this type of product, but some of those polypropylene materials, some of those meshes turned out to have adverse side effects. They would be incorporated into your body. They would fold and encapsulate portions of your internal organs. And that was because of the way those products were designed. It was because of the materials they used. And now there are 800,000 hernia mesh repairs every year. By that, I mean there are 800,000 people going in who need to have either that mesh removed and replaced or repaired in some way.
That's an amazing number. Is it certain types of people that are more at risk? Is it certain uses that are more at risk than others, or is it all across the board?
It has very little to do with the person. Mm-hmm. It has a lot to do with where the mesh is used, and it has everything to do with how the mesh is designed and manufactured, what exactly it's made of. It is a very lucrative market. There are many, many manufacturers making it. It's used around the world. And certain types of mesh have been found to cause problems. And so it's mainly due to the mesh, and it's not all mesh that is bad.
And as far as you know, do the manufacturers know that there are problems? Have they continued to manufacture them and use them, even though there seem to be problems with so many of them?
They have. Oftentimes, the manufacturer got fast track approval for a new mesh, a new type of mesh that they invented, and they didn't have to do all the testing that they did originally when they were starting to make mesh products. And they were supposed to do follow-up studies, but it turned out the follow-up studies weren't done, or they weren't done well. And so the volume of people who may have had a defective mesh surgically implanted in their body is huge. And those manufacturers oftentimes have resisted attempts to take the product off the market or warn people about the products, and have continued to market it, and people have been hurt.
Who may have a case here, Wayne? Is it anybody that's had to have some surgery, some work done to repair? Who can be helped here?
Well, generally, it's for people who are having symptoms. And those symptoms can be pain, it can be infections, there can be swelling. People who have problems from hernia mesh, they know it. They're not comfortable, they're not happy. They usually feel very bad, and they go to the doctors oftentimes. The doctors try to figure out whether it's the hernia mesh or what is causing the problem, and that can take a little bit of time sometimes. But it's someone who has symptoms. And then the solution to the problem is to remove the mesh, repair whatever's happened inside, like adhesion to an organ, or encapsulating some organ, or a fistula, or some problem inside. Go in and repair it and replace it with a proper mesh. It's a surgical procedure.
So if I have one of these devices, if I've had a problem, what do I do? What do you recommend?
Well, the first thing to do, if you've had a hernia mesh surgery and you have some of these symptoms, something's not feeling right, contact a lawyer. You can contact my office. We'll evaluate it, look at your medical records. We're going to recommend that you go to your doctor, follow your doctor's advice, and try to have the doctor deal with the medical side of it. If the doctor recommends removing the hernia mesh, that's one of the important things to do. Remove the hernia mesh and have the doctor hold on to the hernia mesh. You need to hold on to that hernia mesh because that would be evidence if it turns out the hernia mesh caused you problems.
What can I expect as far as damages? Is it limited to paying for the procedure to have it removed and repaired, or does it go beyond that?
No, anyone who suffered an injury from a defective product is entitled to whatever harm has come to them. So it can include medical expenses, obviously. It can include time off work. It can include pain and suffering and those changes in your life and your ability to function that are intangible but real. And if you go to a competent lawyer, someone who does this type of work, there'll be an evaluation of what happened to you made by that lawyer, by me, and we can then help you understand what your damages are in terms of money.
As far as you know, are there still the mesh that is causing problems? Is it still being implanted, still being used, or have they improved upon it enough that it's not a problem anymore?
We're continuing to see many hernia mesh cases. Oftentimes it takes time for the actual problem to develop because the mesh is malfunctioning inside your body, but it goes slowly and it takes a while before you're actually manifesting some problems. So we have people coming in years after the surgery who have a problem, and the problem started developing slowly over time, and then finally they went to the doctor or they called a lawyer like myself to evaluate the situation.
What if someone had the surgery to have it removed but didn't realize that there was a chance they could recover damages, and maybe it's been years ago? Is it too late for them to do anything at that point, Wayne?
There are some people who have waited too long, or it's been too long since the time that they knew or should have known that they had a hernia mesh problem. So it's important, if a person has symptoms, that they get into the lawyer, they come into my office, doesn't cost them anything, and get an evaluation done, and also talk to their doctor about it. But make sure, if the mesh is removed, you must retain the mesh. The mesh is evidence of what's happened to the person.
So that was going to be my next question. You sort of answered. What if someone thinks, I can't afford to go talk to an attorney about this? Well, what is your answer to that?
My office does not charge clients for evaluating these cases. I work with people on the mainland who have experts who will evaluate the medical situation, and we will advise the client all at no charge. If there is a case and we represent the person, we work on a contingency fee. We're not going to get paid a fee unless we collect money for the patient, for the client, and unless the case resolves successfully.
If they have a doctor who is recommending they have this mesh implanted, what would your advice be? At least think twice, get a second opinion. What would your advice be there?
Well, I'm a great believer in being proactive when it comes to healthcare. First of all, ask the doctor some questions about the doctor's experience with that mesh. Is the doctor aware that there have been some meshes that have harmed people? Has the doctor checked it out to make sure that this mesh isn't one of those meshes? And then just ask the doctor what kind of hernia mesh is going to be used. You can go on the internet these days and look up and see whether that mesh has been subject to lawsuits. Not all mesh has caused problems. Not all hernia mesh has caused problems. So, but you can check with lawyers, and that won't cost you any money. I will advise clients as to whether the particular mesh that they're using is subject to any of the lawsuits that we're seeing these days for people who are injured.
How serious are the complications? Are they life-threatening?
They can be. They can be life-threatening depending on where the mesh was implanted. And you can only imagine, this is a patch. There are many different parts of the body that they can use these meshes, particularly around your abdomen, your pelvis, and those areas. But the overwhelming injury, the overwhelming symptomatology is extreme pain. It is not a question of a minor pain. It's a question of a pain that stops people from functioning, would stop people from working, would make sleeping very, very difficult. and discomfort and swelling, and it would really stop the person from functioning. So those are the symptoms that you need to look out for.
So life-altering.
Life-altering, yes.
And it would seem to me that the surgery to remove and repair could also be very risky, and could, because we were talking about could be it's serious surgery. It's not easy surgery.
It can be, yes, and sometimes the surgeons will tell the patient, we cannot remove that mesh because of where it is. It's in a location that to try to remove it or try to repair it or try to fix it would cause a unacceptable risk of some very bad results, such as death.
Wow.
And of course, you have to pay attention to that. And if that's the case, the patient may be left in a chronic pain situation that is truly unbearable. It can be a very, very important and serious life-altering event.
Wow, and the numbers you were talking about is just amazing. Wayne, thank you so much for the information today. I appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been attorney Wayne Parsons of the Wayne Parsons Law Office based in Honolulu. If you want the best information about hernia mesh, or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, please visit askthelawyer.com. Also, take a second and subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen. We'd appreciate that. That's going to do it. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with askthelawyer.com.